Welcome to this week's episode of Chaile Time. Toby, welcome.
Thank you, Tepo.
You know, when I was growing up, I used to hear the word jurisdiction on movies.
Yeah?
Not knowing that in future I'll be the one using it so many times because I work in so many councils, different ones. Sometimes it's the road freight industry, sometimes it's the metal industry, sometimes it's motor industry. Mostly it's CCMA. So today I need to be educated more when it comes to different councils for different industries. There's another one that now we just send an objection for the restaurant and, you know. And actually we went there before because I think it's in Parktown where we went for one of our clients who's in the East End somewhere. So, yeah. But well, first, let me take you through what I went through this week. I've been in and out of the province, by the way. At some point,
you've been flying to Mthatha and Durban.
At some point, I was in three
and
provinces in 1 week. That was some sort of an experience. But anyway, I did a case in the Eastern Cape somewhere.
Mthatha. Let me tell you where it was. Somewhere. Mthatha.
So it's fine. We get there. We got called. The case was for 9 o'clock. Now there's a union representative and the applicant, and I'm the respondent. But now it seems like there's a history between the union member and the commissioner who was sitting there. And it was not the first time I sat with both of them. The argument went for like 2 hours. Actually, the commissioner was not arguing. The gentleman went there like, but you are not the commissioner who was appointed to sit with this case. So I'm asking for you to recuse yourself. Jurisdiction. The set down notice says something different in terms of, comrades, they like quoting the law. I'm here in terms of section 200 of the CCMA. What? I'm like,
and I've got their books.
They've got their books.
The LRA is there. The bundles.
Everything. So I'm sitting there. But the commissioner is like, but now you are wasting time. Do you want to make an application? We can give you some time to do that. He said, yeah, no. I'm going to make an application for you to recuse yourself. And this matter mustn't continue. Or else I'll stand up and walk. Yeah. I sat there. He started hoying, non-stop. He even claimed that just by dealing with that commissioner, he has now have a mental problem. He's seeing a psychiatrist. He's going through therapy. I'm just sitting there minding my own business. When he finishes, he said, no, my company knows that they have been booked off for quite some time because now I'm going through this. So in my response, I'm like, Commissioner, first of all, the gentleman says he's going through some mental problems. But now he made sure that he got here today. But he doesn't even show us that he was approved to come here. Number two, I've worked in the CCMA everywhere in the country, whereby it will say Commissioner Molefe. But because Commissioner Molefe is not there on that day, they will appoint Commissioner Dlamini to come and assist with it. And the matter continues, and then we arbitrate if we arbitrate. If we settle, the matter continues. So it is common cause that can happen. And then the commissioner ruled, and then the commissioner said we must proceed.
Yeah.
And the gentleman took his stuff and he left. And we proceeded with the case. Anyway, but now my question is, when do one raise a jurisdictional point?
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If you commit a crime in South Africa, can the police in America come here and lock you up?
No.
They arrest you. No, because they don't have jurisdiction. Now, in terms of arbitration awards, especially if you want to take it on review, the test is not correctness, it's reasonableness. But when it comes to jurisdictional disputes, the test is actually correctness. Either the CCMA or bargaining council, they've got jurisdiction, or they don't. In terms of dealing with the dispute, in terms of arbitrating the dispute. Similar analogy with South African police and American police. When you commit a crime, we can't go there and arrest an American. Unless, I suppose, if you're part of Interpol or whatever the case may be, but that's something else now.
Unless you're Thabo Bester.
Don't stop that. Anyway, so there are a number of jurisdictional disputes that one can raise, and we'll probably go through one or two of the jurisdictional disputes that's probably more relevant during the last week or two. But in this case, look, remember I always speak about, a dispute. You've got the law on the one hand and you've got the ball on the other hand,
Yeah.
It may be that this is just a drawing out tactic from the union itself, because the comrades like doing that. They always want to postpone, they always want to draw out matters. And I mean, often I deal with unions. Yeah, you make an appointment, then the union don't pitch. Oh, I forgot, or oh, I was busy, or somebody was sick, but they don't tell you in advance. So,
but you give them their medicine.
yeah,
You give them
so
their
there's
own
always tactics
medicine,
that-
and then there's a hoo-ha.
But the reality of the matter is, look, obviously a party can ask a commissioner to recuse himself if there's an element of bias or whatever the case may be. So, and you need to file an application, actually explain yourself. But if it is because, there's a different commissioner mentioned on the set-down notice, that's not a jurisdictional dispute in my view, because at the end of the day, the LRA provides that the commissioner, the CCMA, they need to appoint a commissioner to deal with a certain matter. It doesn't say it must be the same commissioner that's been noted on the set-down notice. And I suppose reasonably also, commissioners also take off ill, and on a specific day, a commissioner may be ill and not available at the CCMA. They're not going to postpone the cases because that CCMA commissioner is now ill. They'll get somebody else who's available,
Yeah,
as long as a competent commissioner deals with the matter. So it's not really a jurisdictional dispute point in terms of the commission can't deal with the matter.
No.
I remember jurisdiction is typically against the CCMA itself, not necessarily the commissioner.
Oh, okay.
So the question is whether the CCMA had the jurisdiction to deal with that specific matter. And yes, of course they did.
Okay, because in one instance, I attended a case whereby someone was earning above the threshold.
Okay.
And then now, I use that and say the council doesn't have jurisdiction, because now the person was earning above the threshold, and then they must take the matter either to the small claims court or the
No, council, no,
CCMA.
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 I know the case you're talking about. So it was
Yes.
actually the CCMA.
Yes. So, that one I am familiar with. And then once...
But let's talk about that quickly.
Okay.
Because, some of the people that listen don't necessarily understand. What that refers to is a Section 73A dispute. Now, if you represent an employer, for instance, okay, and an employee files a Section 73A dispute to the CCMA. Now, typically what that kind of dispute refers to is when a company owes an employee a certain amount in terms of a law or contract of employment. Let's say it's overtime or salary, whatever the case may be. Then you can actually file the dispute to the CCMA. It's a very quick process. When the process comes out, it's a con-op, and you can't actually object to con-op. So there's no tricks of objecting and then only conciliation, do something to the guy to vanish, and then there's no arbitration, you see. There's nothing like that, you see. So you deal with it once off. But what a lot of employees don't know is that this recourse is only available for those earning below the earnings threshold. Now, currently, the earnings threshold is 20,092 Rand a month. So the employee you were referring to, she was just over that earnings threshold. And that's why when you pitch up there, you throw that card, jurisdiction. But interesting, commissioners, they don't always like this whole issue about jurisdiction. They will still try you to settle. And it's quite embarrassing because in this case, apparently the employee was on leave. The employer just refuses. Now I'm getting smoked. You see what happened with this case now, Tefo?
Things we do.
Yes. This employee started this employee is the HR manager of the company. She started her own competing business with the employer.
Within
the company, targeting the customers of her employer. And she has no shame to admit it, even in writing and pitching up at the CCMA. Yeah, the employer, found out I've got my own competing business, competing with him and taking some of his customers, and I then resigned, but now he doesn't want to pay my leave. The employer just said, I will not pay your leave. But now you have to sit at the CCMA and the commission's like, you owe a leave. Then you just look
and
at
you
him.
look like, that's why I'm missing. Yeah, in your head, Commissioner.
Now you give him the WhatsApp emoji face. But now you can't say, yes, we owe, we don't owe. You're just like, jurisdiction. And the commission start hating you for it. And every time, yeah, but you must settle. Go phone the employer. Jurisdiction?
I'm sorry. And the commissioner will write the what do you call the thing? The referral maybe, or then say, looking at you, say, are you serious? You don't want to pay this person?
Jurisdiction?
But
and then eventually the employees, well, I didn't know. And the commission will then typically say, another case at the Road Freight Bargaining Council, the law says so. I can't deal with the matter.
Yeah, but now that's another one which is again on the main agreement. If you don't look at the finer details, then you're gonna get, as an employee, you're gonna get lost in the process, because now you will be working in a control room, but not a driver of a truck, or working in a workshop, and then you get dismissed, you go to the Road Freight Bargaining Council. When you get there...
I must tell you something. But I mustn't say this.
When you get there, Tsepo walks in and say, the main agreement says, controllers, workshop staff, this. Yeah, I have the government gazette. Here it is stated. It must go to the CCMA. Jurisdiction.
Tsepo, I had this case at a CCMA once. It was in the road freight industries, no? And in the main agreement of the Road Freight Industries Bargaining Council, it states there, there's a certain, I think it was controllers, but only, those controllers, but only those in the cash in transit industry. The Bargaining Council's got jurisdiction to deal with a dismissal dispute.
Yeah.
A controller in a normal logistics company, the CCMA's got the jurisdiction. And I misread this thing. Remember the ball? The ball. The ball is when you throw something at another person and they don't play back. No, they don't play this game of catch. Yeah, I shouldn't say these things. I'm telling you on the spur of the moment now. Anyway, so I misread this main agreement. I just thought, that controllers, the CCMA don't have jurisdiction. So there I came with my laptop, whatever, opened the main agreement and whatever, and I raised the flag of jurisdiction. Sorry, no, Mr. Commissioner, you don't have the jurisdiction. This person must go to road freight. And the commissioner looked at me and says, can you prove it? So I said, yeah. So I opened my laptop, put it on, and there I saw controller, in brackets, only cash and transit. I'm like, oh my goodness. I did something I shouldn't have. I took my thumb on the screen to pick up my laptop like this to show the commissioner, but I put my thumb over the part that says cash and transit and said, you see, Mrs. Commissioner, you see, only controllers. Controllers are included in the main agreement. This must go to the bargaining council. He said, yeah, show him. So when he says, yeah, you see that, controllers must go to the bargaining council. So they threw the case out. The case was gone.
And when it got there, it had to go back again to the...
No, he never picked up.
Oh, he never picked up because of the back and forth.
Yeah, because of that. I heard the talk, Tsepo.
And lately I also had this guy used to be working at the tire bay. I don't know, what do they call them?
Yeah, but this is also road freight, eh?
Well, yeah, but he went to the CCMA. Now I referred the matter to the road freight, but he never did a follow-up or anything, that guy, because I think this back and forth, it's now killing them, because someone will come from Mpumalanga or Limpopo driving all the way, and then when you get there, you just...
That's why jurisdiction is such a nice tool, man. To frustrate the process, you see, jurisdiction. Because they lose hope down the line, you see. But the people who accuse us, who criticize us, we're supposed to be...
But now this
looking out for
means...
justice, but hey...
This means we have to be fine when it comes to those councils, the ones, each and every industry.
Yeah, you see,
we have to be
we have another
fine.
case this week in, I think it was in Klerksdorp, I believe it was. And this is quite interesting because there the jurisdiction was this company is actually working with they're a petrol station. So this case was filed to the CCMA, unfair retrenchment dispute it was. And once again we threw the jurisdiction card. But now this company is not registered with MIPCO, even though a filling station falls under the jurisdiction of MIPCO, the Motors Industries Bargaining Council. They were not registered there. So we took with the main agreement that shows the scope of application, which includes filling stations, and we showed the extension to non-parties. Now what that means is typically a main agreement will only apply to the parties of that agreement, which is typically the employers and their employers' organizations and the employees and their trade unions that are registered at that bargaining council. But now what the bargaining council, or probably most of them do, is they will apply to the Minister of Labour to extend that main agreement to non-parties also. People are not registered there, which effectively means that everybody who operates in that industry must subject itself to the authority of the bargaining council and the main agreement. So in this case, once again, jurisdiction. But surprisingly, this is not the first time I find this, is that a lot of commissioners still believes that the bargaining council main agreements only apply if you're actually registered there. And then when you throw the extension in, they're like, this question marks, like, what?
Can I read something quickly here?
Yeah.
Do I have to belong to a bargaining council? An employer is legally obliged to register with a specific bargaining council if the core function of the employer is prescribed in the scope of application of any bargaining council. Hefty fines can be imposed if an employer fails to comply with the collective agreement of the bargaining council.
Yeah, you see, that's especially true once a agreement's been extended to the non-party. So, but anyway, so in this case, once again, jurisdiction, that commissioners, no, I've got jurisdiction. No, you don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Yes, I do. And then the commissioner disappears, going to the bathroom. No, they're going to phone a senior commissioner and say, listen, what else going on here? What can I do? Eventually, she just came back and says, I'll make my ruling in 14 days. So obviously somebody trained her. And then they obviously and sometimes they also phone the bargaining council. Listen, is this true? You know? So there are various kinds of jurisdictional disputes, you know.
But these agents, do they go around and see if a business is really complying?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
But it seems like most people are running away with murder, if I have to call it that way.
You know, there's a joke. Eskom is the E in South Africa.
Okay.
There's no E in South Africa.
You got me for a moment there.
I'm sorry, Eskom. But you see, the thing is, a lot of things don't happen. You know, companies are getting away with so many things, and I think the Department of Labour, the bargaining councils, you know, like any other company, they struggle for resources, and you can only do so much. There are so many companies out there, you know, they also have their hands full. So a lot of companies get away with murder, and you will never see an agent. But you know what? You never see an agent until you do. Yes, and then you're in trouble, eh?
But now, where does that leave people like me and you? Because now we are when the agent comes, we are expected to perform a miracle, and then now...
That's the curse of our job, I suppose. Look, at the end of the day, our job is to tell people what's the right thing to do, what's the legal thing to do, what's fair. And yes, if companies come, I always say, on the highway, you can't drive faster than 120. But if you do and you get caught and there's problems, phone me, I'll see what I can do. But Jack Sparrow, Pirates of the Caribbean, you know what he said? There's what a man can do, there's what a man can't do. Savvy?
Okay, one last thing. Now, another thing, it's out of this now. You know, some companies do employ foreign nationals, and then there's been a ZSP. Is it ZEP or ZSP?
Yeah, I think it was ZSP, it changed to ZEP. And
then Saudi, last week, I think he made an announcement that he's scrapping off the ZEP or something. But now, the Helen Suzman what do they call it? Foundation. They said, no, it's unconstitutional. So now with things like that, now it's been extended now. What is happening with employees who doesn't have permits and permits have expired? You remember how long permits have expired now? Yeah. Is it another extension now or?
Well, I think one thing important, and this got nothing to do really with jurisdiction.
Yeah, I'm saying now.
I think one thing that we as South Africa employers needs to understand is that there's a difference between the ZEP program and the rest. So whether you have an asylum or a general work permit, whatever the case may be, and a lot of employers are riding this wave of the ZSP process through the courts and whatever the case may be, and put everybody in the same umbrella. The bottom line is this: there's the Immigration Act.
Yes.
If you are in breach of the Immigration Act, it's a criminal offense. If you don't have the valid work permits, you're an undesirable person. There's been some process around Zimbabweans because South Africa had a special arrangement with Zimbabwe through the ZEP program. Okay, so if you have an asylum and expired, it's got nothing to do with the ZEP process. If you have a general work permit and expire, whatever the case may be, it's got nothing to do with the ZEP program. So you're not supposed to employ a person whose papers are expired. And also in 2015, there is an amendment that came through in the LRA in terms of section 198B that deals with fixed-term contracts, and actually states here that one of the justifications for a fixed-term contract is when you're a foreign national. So I typically tell employers, if you employ a foreigner, give him a fixed-term contract for a specified period of time, which is the validity period of that work permit. Your permit expires, your contract of employment expires, justified by law, no problem. But employers don't do that. They either don't give a fixed-term or any contract, or they just give an indefinite contract of employment. But now you have a problem when the permit actually expires. So let's just start there. That's quite important. But in terms of your question now with ZSP, yeah, look, there's been an extension. Well, it's been, the cutoff date's been set on the 30th of June, which is now the end of this month, which is today. Today. There's been an extension to the 31st of December, but I received the case law. I didn't read it yet, but I did read the business comments on it. So it seems like what happened here is that in terms of the PAYA Act, Section 4, I believe it is, if a public administrator, in this case, Department of Home Affairs and the SA government, makes a decision that impacts the public interest on a higher level or to this scale, they must first consult the relevant and the applicable parties, which is something the government didn't do. So it seems like they just made a unilateral decision to cancel the process. So what the court seems to say is that, okay, no problem, but you were supposed to consult with the relevant parties. So now, the ZFP holders, they've got another 12 months where they can stay in South Africa and work. And in the meantime, the Home Affairs and the government must now consult with, I suppose, the public, the Zimbabweans, because that is a fair process in terms of the PAYA Act. So you can't just make a unilateral decision like apparently we did. So it seems like, for the next 12 months, the ZDP holders can work in South Africa. Yeah. But it's still a work in progress, so we will still continue to look at the space and see what's happening.
Okay, going back to jurisdiction, the moral of the story today was for people to understand which council do they fall under, because it seems like it's a common thing now when everyone feels like I've been dismissed unfairly. I go to the CCMA. I've been dismissed unfairly. I go to the CCMA. I've been retrenched unfairly, like the case you're talking about in Klerksdorp. I go to the CCMA. So it is very important.
But on that, and for the employees out there, when you file a dispute, try to make sure on the following basics. That you refer the dispute to the relevant forum, whether it must be the CCMA or a bargaining council. If you're not sure, phone the CCMA or go to see an agent. They will tell you, and actually ask them the question, is the CCMA the right place? If you fall under the jurisdiction of a bargaining council, go on their website and actually find the main agreement and see which industries falls under this territory, okay? That's the one thing. The other thing is, if you are having a dispute relating to outstanding pay, for instance, okay? If you earn above the threshold, and currently now, as from the 1st of March 2023, the threshold is 20,092 Rand a month, okay? If you earn above that, you are going to waste your time at the CCMA, okay? And yes, for that kind of dispute, you don't go to a bargaining council, you go to the CCMA, okay? So if you earn above that, you're going to waste your time because they're going to play the jurisdiction card. Okay? Also, when you file a dispute, make sure you file the right one, because sometimes employees has a unfair labor practice dispute, but they file accidentally a unfair dismissal. Or they have an unfair dismissal dispute, but they file a constructive dismissal dispute. Once again, CCMA commissioners has wide discretionary powers how to deal with the matter. So the one commissioner is going to say, no problem, we just change it right here.
Yeah.
The other guy is going to say, sorry, you cited wrong. We throw out the case, go do it over again. And then maybe you're late and you have to apply for condemnation. You know, it's such a slip, you know. So, yeah.
Thank you for watching. That's all for this week. Have a nice one.
Thank you. See you again. And maybe do these voice things.
Next week on It's Chaile time.
I work for a company in Gauteng.
just to
And
protect
my boss
them.
is an asshole.
Just to
When I studied labor law, they said the commissioner at the CCMA, and all respect the commissioner's name, okay, they are like a box of chocolates. When you open that box, you don't know what you're getting.
Yeah, true. True. Now today we're gonna focus on what is the danger of not charging an employee right or correctly, and then what are the guidelines on charging an employee, especially now. You know, we do have Schedule 8.4, we have other schedules, we have misconduct, we do have incapacity due to ill health or poor performance. Now, what is the danger, especially when it comes to maybe someone is being charged with poor performance, but in a hearing, the merits of the case now lead to that person actually they have committed a misconduct. So what are the dangers there?